Ignorance.
Do you know what Harriet Tubman did that makes her a hero in America?
No.
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
I know the name, and I'm assuming he's involved in the Underground Railroad.
Who was Langston Hughes and what was he known for?
Don't know.
Do you know what Billie Holiday was known for?
Nope.
What did Louis Armstrong do that made him famous?
Nope.
Personal views from the past, from a person's lineage, from their family tree. You have to look where their grandparents grew up, where their grandparents grew up. And I believe that's how racism starts.
Do you know what Harriet Tubman did that made her a hero in America?
She freed herself, and Underground Railroad is basically the key word there. She used that to free people, slaves, particularly.
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
A famous black man.
What did he do?
Stuff for black people.
Have you ever read a book or work by Edgar Allan Poe in English class or for English class?
Yes.
Have you ever read a book by Toni Morrison for English class?
Not required, no.
Have you ever read a book by Ernest Hemingway for English class?
Parts of it, yes.
Have you ever read a book by Maya Angelou for English class?
Parts.
Have you ever read a book by Emily Dickinson?
Yes.
Have you ever read a book by Waldo Emerson?
No.
Have you ever read a book by Langston Hughes?
Misconceptions and things that people aren't taught from the time they grow up.
Do you know what Harriet Tubman did to make her a hero in America?
She was a blacks' rights movement. She had like a big part in fighting for blacks' rights.
What did she do?
Wasn't she with the Underground Railroad or something like that?
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He was another person who fought for black rights, and he was like more of a public speaker and wasn't like a fighter. He wasn't like the Black Panthers or anything. He just spoke out against or spoke out.
Ignorance, lack of understanding.
Do you know what Harriet Tubman did that makes her an American hero?
She helped with the underground slave.
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
I think he did the underground slave thing too.
Who was Langston Hughes and what was he known for?
I don't know.
Do you know what Billie Holiday was known for?
He was a singer. Might have been gay too. I'm not sure.
Part of it, I think, is lack of understanding from one group to the other. I think there's always been that element in our history about fear of a group that is not very little is known about. So the best way to keep them in a position of weakness is to discriminate against them. And I mean, like I said, I think it's always the fear of the unknown, and always the fear of we have something and you're trying to take it. And I think a lot of it is misunderstanding that and stereotypes that whites and blacks have stereotyped the other group, the other side, and don't really understand where the other side is coming from. Don't know a whole lot about their history. Don't know a whole lot about where they've been, what they're going through.
Do you know what Harriet Tubman did that makes her an American hero?
Didn't she... Oh man, I'm so dumb. I totally forgot this. Oh my word, I feel like an idiot. Wasn't she involved in like Underground Railroad or like the lady that sat in the bus?
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
Frederick Douglass. He was a black man who... Oh man. No, I don't. I don't remember what he did.
Who was Langston Hughes and what was he known for?
Langston Hughes. I think he wrote a book. Or painted something. Either one of those.
What was Billie Holiday known for doing?
He was a musical artist.
A lot of it has to do with, social settings. The people that you're surrounded by, the kind of environment that you're in. If you come from a historically prejudiced family, more than likely that's going to be passed down onto you, no matter what you read or what you hear. I think social surroundings also depends on how culturally aware you might
Do you
be.
know what Harriet Tubman did that made her an American hero?
Didn't she help people escape the Underground Railroad?
Do you know who Frederick Douglass is?
No, I do not.
Who was Langston Hughes and what was he known for?
Wasn't he a musician? Okay, no.
Do you know what Billie Holiday was known for?
Music. Entertainment. TV.
What did Louis Armstrong do that made him famous?
Music. Saxophone.
Fear, prejudice, fear in general of being, being exposed to different, in our own ways. I think everybody in their own ways is prejudice, fear of something different than their own race.
The next day and the following, students weren't quite sure what to do, until at last a solution began to surface through. When one student, with a crayon and paper in both black, turned to the student behind him and asked, "May I borrow that?" The student hesitated, but then gave up his crayon made of white, and ultimately the assignment no longer seemed a plight. For students all throughout the class switched crayons up and down the aisles, and certain that they'd found a solution, their faces lit with smiles. And just as every student began to draw across an empty page, the teacher, whom they all began to see as certainly quite strange, collected all the pages and crayons without a single mark, and then spoke aloud, "Thank you for bringing hope into my heart. You see, I wanted you to realize that in order to create a picture filled with beauty, devoid of any hate, you needed first to recognize that a problem did exist, and that a practical solution could be found within your midst, and that racism is a problem each of us must face, and working all as one before it's much too late. And with open eyes and open hearts, we must see the person, not the color of their skin, and come to the understanding that racism has to end. For together we are family, we cry tears, we all feel pain, and though we may not look the part, that's exactly what we do. For crayons are just colors. That's all our skin is too."